Okay, I got the okay. Thank you so very much. Hello, this is Pierre Fontaine speaking. Uh, Doing a live this evening regarding why I can be so certain your child should, or I can get your child to be diagnosed off the spectrum. It's a big claim. I get it. I understand totally. But it is, and it should be, uh, and everybody should know that it is systematically possible. That's what I'm saying. So I scheduled this live. Let's see if anybody shows up. Generally, the videos vary between 500 and 1,800 views with a long viewing time, a long average viewing time. There are many reasons for why I am certain your child can be diagnosed of the spectrum. I won't lie, the younger the better, the easier, if you will. Not the better, but the easier. Um, or the most certain. The most certain we can get to that shore. That is, your child is off the spectrum. Your child does not have autism. There you go. There you go. That rests for me. I don't. My standards are different. They're higher, but they're simpler. They're simpler because I took from the very first day of my professional life, actually, in homeopathy, my very first patient had Rett syndrome, which is considered the far end of the autism spectrum. So yeah, my standards are simpler but higher than your average neurologist or doctor who diagnoses autism. Off the spectrum means your child will have normal eye contact, not haphazard, at all times, normal eye contact. Not under certain circumstances, not just with you and not with the father or the grandmother or the cashier at the store. No, your child will have normal eye contact, period. Your child will speak also, period. Normal conversation about any subject. Not one subject, dinosaurs or cars or this or that. Any subject, just like all of us. And normal interaction, just like all of us. Some of us have more interaction, some have interaction with more people, some of us have interaction with less people, but your child will be on the average, let's say. Okay? And actually, from my experience, your child will have a nice group of friends. Let's put it that way. A nice group of friends. A group of friends he or she can speak with. We don't have hundreds of friends. That happens on Facebook. Some other world. We don't have. So your child. So what I mean by off the spectrum for myself, which is simpler but more than what the average doctor will diagnose. What the average doctor will see is a quote unquote normal interaction with the child, Okay? Will this be recorded? I don't know. I have no idea. I listen. I'm not. This is not what I do. You see, I had to start again. So yeah, maybe it will post on my page, which was completely eradicated. And that's another reason why I'm building up the information bank here on my wall. That's, I think, a term that was used about 10 years ago with Facebook, but be that as it may, let's stay serious here. Uh, so, the your child will have normal eye contact with anyone. Hi, Johnny, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. How about you? Blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? Nothing complicated. Nothing, we're not talking about rocket science. And the conversation, blah blah blah. Anything, any day, anything, any day. In other words, the child will be able to study like your average person, study in school like your average person with a normal behavior. Will not be, I've seen, there's a guy who goes around with, exposing his son. And he says, "Well, my son can speak now, blah blah." And I never heard a word from that person. Bless his soul. And listen, if he can function better than he was before, but that's not what I'm interested in. Better than before is not my interest. That is not where I am. And I will explain over the next hour, 45 minutes for leaving, why it is so. But my off diagnosis, the doctor will see a person in front of him or her who was diagnosed with on the spectrum, who, let's say, could not speak, but is speaking now, is having an interaction, a verbal interaction, let's put the two together, a verbal interaction with the doctor, is not behaving, refusing for the blood pressure to be taken and so on, all the usual stuff that the doctor does for whatever reason. Let's take the blood pressure of a 12-year-old. Oh, well, yeah, okay. With normal interaction, everything will be fine. Oh, your child was diagnosed on the spectrum? Well, I don't see any reason for your child to be on the spectrum. Well, come back, or go see you go see your neurologist, and let's say your child will be off the spectrum. I am certain about that. I cannot be more certain than I am now that your child of an early age, I will say, under 12, your child under 12 can certainly be, wherever he or she is, diagnosed off the spectrum, will have a quote unquote normal conversation, normal interaction, and normal eye contact. If you want me to define that a little bit more, I can. It is not quite the point, because that person I'm talking about, that dad who says my kid can communicate now with me with the board. No, your child will speak, with his mouth. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. There's no doubt about it. I will get to why. I want to set the stage here at this moment, early in the hour. I want to set the stage on where your child will be. Where your child is what I call the three-legged stool. Like I said, I'm a simple guy. Okay, big results. Let's Keep it simple. Let's get the results be big. Normal eye contact, normal interaction, that is playing a game of soccer, playing a game of card, going out to the movies with the circle of friends, real friends, and not politically correct where like, yeah, we'll take him along. No, because he's fine with normal conversation, not talking about dinosaurs before or after, or being restless during the movie, not understanding anything. No, I'm talking your average Joe. Okay? Let's put it that simply. Where your child is now, before treatment, maybe zero eye contact, zero spontaneous interaction. Let's underline spontaneous. And zero speech. Zero interaction, spontaneous interaction, zero speech, zero spontaneous speech, and zero eye contact. That is where we start, okay? Wherever your child is on that scale from 0 to 10, all cases with me start from 0 to 10 regarding these three things. Spontaneous eye contact, spontaneous interaction, spontaneous speech, spontaneous underline, not learn. We start with a child with 0 on these three, what I so simply call the three-legged stool. And sometime later, about 2 years, maybe longer, your child goes to the doctor and the doctor says, I don't understand why your child is on the spectrum. Come back to me in 6 months, let's see if this is the same or something. But that's where we start, okay? So we have our starting block. The starting block and the finish line. The starting block is there's 0 spontaneous eye contact, 0 spontaneous interaction, and 0 spontaneous speech. That is our starting block. If your child is a 3 or a 4 or a 5 in any of these three categories, all the better. Okay? All the better. No doubt about it. I'll verify it, but no doubt about it. It has to be spontaneous, not learn. Yeah, little Johnny can speak. He can say cookie. Yeah, that's a 1 as far as I'm concerned. That's a 1. Because he's actually saying something. He's not just taking the hand and pointing out to the cookie. That's a 1. It's not a 10. It's not a 9. I'll be happy with a 9. And I think you'll be happy with a 9. But that's where we start. And maybe that is where we end. That is not where we should end in my book, because this is off the spectrum. This is only off the spectrum. Only. I dare say only off the spectrum. Because there will still be a few things. Maybe wanting a glass of water every single night. So certain things that are really insignificant. We all have them, actually. That's why sometimes it makes it easy for some people to sympathize with autism. Because some people say, well, I have this, I have that. Yeah, but you don't have. You may have a little OCD or a big OCD, but you don't have problem with making eye contact and actually relating to someone, and actually that is eye contact. looking at someone and relating to someone. Spontaneous interaction is sharing with someone. And spontaneous speech is actually, uh, how to say, exposing your mental ability, if you will, your emotional and mental ability. So that's where we will be able to expose mental and emotional ability. Not talk ran anywhere in any setting about dinosaurs or whatever the current subject is. Facts. Facts about dinosaurs, facts about cars, facts about this. What we used to call ass pressure. Like. Okay. So then, um, off the spectrum is a certainty. And why? Why? Because there is, right now, as far as I'm concerned, and I think it will become eventually common knowledge, or how to say, the definition of autism. What is autism? Because everyone is trying to treat autism. Everyone is trying to treat autism. The ABA people, well, they're not trying to treat autism, they're trying to imply some therapy onto something they don't know. Okay? Why do I say they don't know? Because they don't have a definition. In order to know something, you have to have a definition. You know, sort of like a dictionary. You know, what is a car? There's a definition for what is a car, right? Same thing. So ABA doesn't really do anything. They try to impose a certain behavior. That's why it's called applied behavior. Applied behavior, that's it, right? Under what circumstances, why, how, nobody knows, but it's the accepted treatment for autism, which someone last year, this is an interesting story. I drive my daughter to a new job, and I made the accountant because she was, the job came with an apartment. So we talk about various things. What do you do, right? And I say what I do. I treat only autism. I'm a homeopath, but this is it. This is my this is what I feel I connect to, and this is how, because I came up with a definition. And she says, "Oh my God, you know, I'm an accountant now, but I quit. I'm actually a therapist, and I quit. I was working with children on the spectrum, but they ask us that's what the treatment is, and they ask us to do things we cannot do." So this is a therapist who's removed. So she became an accountant. It's a big leap, but she became an accountant. Incredibly so. So now she's checking in. She's checking my daughter in this apartment. Um, um, and I said, "Well, tell me more, because this is the first time I hear, you know, actually from a therapist, someone who was a therapist, blah blah." She said, we can't do anything about these children, with these children. We can't do anything because they don't understand. I mean, in order to be in therapy, you need to understand or have some sense that I'm trying to help you deal with your problem. Well, that is not there. They do whatever they want. It's not there. And so whatever we try to do, we have to repeat all the time. So in actuality, they repeat only because they have to, because they're not moving forward in the therapy, you see. So ABA is about repeating, but it repeats because they're not moving forward, she tells me. And I mean, it became absolutely impossible to live with. Here I am, I'm going to work every day, and I'm being told to do this with these children, and it's not moving, nothing happens. And it feels like there's a canyon between me and the child. And I said, man, do you know why? That's where they are. But no, I don't know why. Because and I said, well, there's no definition of autism. There's really no definition, official at least definition. I mean, once what I'm going to say becomes official, listen, I'll live my life. I'll whoa, absolutely wonderful. Because there is a definition, which I describe in my third book. I've told many times on all these videos that were erased by Facebook. But yeah, there's a definition. There's a two-word definition in the language of autism. This book available on Amazon. I've been talking about this for 2 years, and there's no doubt about this definition. This definition explains this in 2 words the state of autism. It is not brain inflammation, okay? It is not brain inflammation. Your child's brain is not inflamed. There's just no doubt about that, okay? People claim, oh yeah, I know. People claim your his brain is inflamed, yeah, or your child is toxic, and we'll show you with hair analysis and whatnot that your child is toxic. There's arsenic, there is antimony, there's mercury at times, even lead. It's true, but it's false. It's true, but it has nothing to do. It's the consequence of autism. We're getting to that. I'm developing. I have one viewer at this moment, so I'm developing the whole thing here. Stay with me. So, it's the result of autism that causes the body to be toxic. Removing the toxicity can marginally improve autism, but you're still left with autism. You're still left with autistic type behaviors. You're still left with an enormous amount of control or having to apply control. What do I mean by having to apply control in autism? Control the diet, control the supplements, be certain that the child doesn't go out of, say, certain circles, okay? That's what I mean by control. Is the child becoming fully independent, fully functional in the world? That's what we want. That's what I mean. That's what I meant before about where we start with 0, 0, 0 eye contact, 0 spontaneous interaction, and 0 speech, spontaneous speech. to where we're going. We're going to full interaction, full spontaneous speech, full interaction, no supplements, no ad nauseum supplements, no therapy. Let's add to this side here. No more control, no more checking where the child is, no more checking what the child is eating, no more checking this or that or the no more of that. You have a quote-unquote normal child on your hands. Or no longer on your hands for that matter. There. So the definition for autism, because here we are with 150 symptoms of autism, roughly. Let's talk about a few. I listed 75 symptoms of autism. Number 30, constipation. The other side, diarrhea, but very commonly, diarrhea comes first and then the chronic constipation. Just pick the page, okay? Aggravated by baby crying, aggravated by sound, aggravated by running kids, tiptoeing, handling genitals. Routine is a must. Aggravated by changes, not playing with toys appropriately. What has anybody explained to you why little Johnny is playing with a toy truck, is only playing with the wheels, spinning the wheels of a toy truck? Has anyone given to you a rational answer? Beside, well, he's in his own world. No, I want a two-word definition, a two-word reason why little Johnny is not playing with his truck and only spinning the wheels. Has anybody done that? Has anybody done that? Has any therapist, doctor you have seen done that? Why? Not the consequence of spinning wheels, maybe being mesmerized and so on and so forth. And let me add something because I just listed a few. Right? So he's spinning the wheels. Little Johnny is spinning the wheels of the toy truck. Has anybody told you why little Johnny is playing with wires or dust balls? Why is little Johnny holding on one toy? Why is little Johnny eating only one food? One food. And if there is a definition of autism, which there is, which explains this, and the parents I see completely get it. They completely get it. Why little Johnny poops in the closet and not in the toilet? I mean, this is quite incredible, right? Why little Johnny has problem writing? Why little Johnny even has a problem not only writing, holding on a pen. Holding on a pen. Little Johnny holds a pen like this. Okay, all kids on the spectrum do. And he's going to do something like that. I put in the old, well, in the old world, before Facebook erased my entire page here, there was a video about handwriting and the whole bit, which got over 2,000 views. But it was interesting because this is something you can actually see. All kids on the spectrum write the same way. Has anybody talked to you about that? So why little Johnny? So we going. I'm giving example with one definition. One definition. When I talk about autism, I'm on. I'm on. Why is little Johnny lining things up? Why hasn't anybody figured this out? There's one definition, only one, two-word definition. Two words definition. Let's take all of them backward now with these two words. Conceptual inability. Conceptual inability. Little Johnny has no concept of a pen. You want little Johnny. So at first a baby holds a pen like this, right? We all know. Right? But kids on the spectrum continue holding a pen like this because the concept, what should evolve, as this is a pen and I can do something with it, does not evolve. The concept of communication is not there. It's the concept that is not there. The concept, I talked about the pooping in the closet, the concept of pooping, just the concept of pooping. That's why they mostly have constipation to cover what the examples I picked haphazardly here in my book. The concept of pooping is not even there. If the concept of pooping is not even there, you cannot imagine the concept of writing being close. Why little Johnny spins the wheel of a toy truck, sorry, because he has no idea that it is a truck. He has no idea that it is a toy. It has no idea it can give him pleasure and he can play with it. No, he's just going to spin the wheels. Imagine yourself having no concept. Put yourself in the shoes rather than always looking from me. Put yourself in. I have no concept. I have no concept of people. A person is this tripod here. A person is not a person. That's why people say he's looking at me or she's looking at me as if I were a vase. I've heard this a million times. A vase, and I don't know why vase, by the way, but it's very commonly a vase. Yeah, it's not a spoon, it's a vase. Little Johnny eats one food because he has no concept of eating. If you don't have concept of eating, and concept includes pleasure, why eat more than one food? There's no reason. You see, everything must be logical. Everything must. With conceptual inability, all of these that I mentioned. Let's go back on them. Let's skip some pages. So, spinning the wheels, handwriting difficulties. There's no reason to do anything. I mean, if you don't have concept of communicating something or doing something, what is a pen for? And there's no reason to hold a pen like this. They're just going to do this. And parents say, well, he can color, but not inside the lines. I mean, inside the lines? That's your concept, because there's already something wrong and you should follow the rule, if you will. There's no concept of that. There is nothing. There is None of this. That's why without concept you cannot learn. That's why ABA repeats and repeats and repeats. You can understand eventually. Well, they don't understand, but they comprehend contextually. They comprehend contextually because at some point they say this person is saying do this, write an A. And a couple of years ago, again in that I should redo this handwriting video. I should do a duplicate because it got erased. But all kids on the spectrum write the same way. That was a major eureka moment that led me to the definition of autism with conceptual inability. We tried to get kids to write something, Apple, um, without any concept of actually writing. Writing, which is a communication. There's no concept of that. Okay. Or very little. In the way I speak about autism is this hypothetical, which I get every single day with new patient is zero eye contact, zero spontaneous interaction, and zero speech. Okay. So with no concept of communication, no concept of holding a pen, and never mind holding a pen properly so you can write letters, because letters are a concept that I don't understand. This is not so far-fetched. You say, well, how come eventually. No. Have you ever seen Arabic? Arabic writing. Have you ever seen it? These lines, with a dot at the end. What in the world is this? Your alphabet is about as complicated as Arabic writing to your child. No matter how much you're trying to get him to understand. And he cannot understand because he doesn't have the concept. You eventually can learn Arabic because you know Arabic as a language. Okay? You know Arabic conceptually. You don't know Arabic. But conceptually, you know that you can learn Arabic and speak Arabic and read Arabic and understand Arabic. Different senses. Your child does not have that ability. That's why he's spinning wheels on a toy truck. And no matter how much detox, no matter how many supplements you give, or hyperbaric chamber you do to pump up more oxygen, not going to go anywhere. Once in a while, there's a case after, after HBOT, hyperbaric, something. A child will greatly respond. 1 out of 1,000,000, because there are millions literally doing that. But one. I'm talking about all. Not one for all, but all. All kids on the spectrum can systematically be diagnosed off the spectrum. So that one kid had an affinity for oxygen. Okay, great. What about 99.99% that should systematically be able to reverse? Because HBOT is one thing, B12 is another. That's it. I mean, let's put in all the supplements, 200, all the supplements and the medications, all put together. Let's say you put them all together and something should happen, and very little happens because we know it. Because in millions of kids, nothing much happens. Certainly not off the spectrum, which I guarantee. Why do I guarantee? Let's get to it. Why do I guarantee off the spectrum? Because one, I have a definition. I know what I'm treating. I'm treating conceptual inability, which no doctor who treats autism will give you a two-word definition that can explain, like I did 10 minutes ago, can explain a multitude of symptoms of autism, 150 of them roughly. In fact, I don't even know how many. I like the, and it's not to bash on the biomed people, on the doctors, and so on and so forth. It's not to do that. The purpose is not that. The purpose is to establish a comparison. Okay? The purpose is to establish comparison, a valid comparison. First of all, the definition. I have a definition. It is solid. It will never change. It will be eventually that. Autism is conceptual inability. But why now can I absolutely guarantee a child being off the spectrum? Well, first, there was a before and after. The before is 8,000 remedies. Now, I just said, put all the medications together and the supplements together, you get to 200. Give them all. 8,000. There's a difference. There's a difference in subtlety, because a child on the spectrum who eats only one food and who doesn't play with toys and who doesn't talk to anyone requires a different remedy from a child on the spectrum, just as much with 000, with constipation. He eats different food, but he gets angry when we say no. He doesn't relate to us, just like the first example. He doesn't relate to us, nothing, but he gets angry. We say no, he gets angry. He takes our hand to the cookie jar, and if we say no, he gets angry. The one before does not get angry. Or another example, same setup. Wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning every night. He needs a different remedy from the number one and number two. And the one who comes cuddling and gets angry and plays with the wheels, but doesn't like water, needs another remedy. How can we do that? See, that's what puzzles people. Why, you can do that, but that's not possible. Yeah, it is possible right here. It is possible right here, plus, so right here is this. Let me pile them up just for the effect so that you fully know. There's about 300 new remedies here that target the state of autism. You see, the reason why your child has made marginal improvement, but not off the spectrum and not even close? Because your child hasn't had the benefit of specificity, specific, specificity. You've treated what you think, and which may very well have been. You treated the side effect of vaccine, maybe a side effect of antibiotics. You treated what you think is the gut, the fully responsible. No, it is not. None of these are fully true. These are ideas, and they may be correct. And that's why they have only marginal effect. The way you have been treating with biomed doctors is what you think are the causes of autism. But you haven't treated autism. You mean I can treat rewinding, the state of rewinding? How do you know? Rewinding videos. You think I could do that? Spinning the wheels on a toy truck. You have not been treating the state of autism. You have not. You tried to treat constipation, yeah. Somewhat successful with a massive amount of magnesium and oxy whatever. Have you ever taken massive amount of magnesium? I did. I felt so bad for a month. See, I was I come from the supplement world in the 80s. In the 80s, I'm not going to go through the entire story, but in the 80s, I was very much into supplements. Muscle testing, all this kind of nonsense, complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. You're not treating anything. You, at best, palliating. So you've treated constipation. And yeah, okay, with controlling like I was saying before, with control of the diet, control of this, control of that. Okay, little Johnny goes to the bathroom 3-4 times a week, maybe even every day. But little Johnny is still on the spectrum. Because what you were led to believe is not true. Fix the gut, fix autism. That was never true. It's a belief. And that is one reason why they will never tell you when you bring your child to me, your child will be diagnosed off the spectrum. They really will not make that statement. I can. I can because I got these 8,000 remedies, and all I've done my entire career, crazy as it is, because a homeopath usually sees, anybody, arthritis, multiple sclerosis, autism, this, that, all the rest. Nuh-uh. All I did was autism. That's it. That's why I was able to come up with a definition. 2-word that explains basically 150 symptoms of autism. In fact, even that number, at least 75, the logic of 75 symptoms of autism. Reading credits. Tell me if your doctor told you the logic of reading credits on a movie. There's a logic. Your child does it. Your child on the spectrum which you do not understand, reads the credits of a movie rather than the movie. There's a logic to it. We have to understand that logic. The logic of autism, which is completely illogical because spinning wheels of a toy trick rather than playing with a toy trick is really largely illogical, right? Pooping in the closet is largely illogical, and so on. Turning the lights on and off, largely logical. Repeating questions, largely logical. Right? No. All of it is logical. Spinning. I'm just, I'm putting the no social contact, handling genital, tiptoeing, routines. Why is this logical? If the kid does it, it's not because we don't understand that it is not logical. It is logical. He does it for a purpose. He or she do it for a purpose. The purpose need to have a definition. So the definition is crucial upon understanding a child, and it is absolutely crucial to treat, because if we don't understand what we're treating, we can only treat what we think. And by and large, we have many thoughts throughout the day. And like the Buddhists will tell us, all these, we have many, many thoughts throughout the day. We generally don't have eureka moments. Fortunately, eventually, with the weight of all this, a definition appeared. Conceptual inability, which I mentioned in this many times now, in this past hour, which I have a patient coming up, so I'm going to have to disconnect. So, the basis of my certainty of your child being diagnosed off the spectrum is because these new remedies, as well as others, the 8,000 I mentioned, but these new also make us a few steps forward, and we can individualize the state of autism, like I was mentioning 5 minutes ago. We can individualize the state of autism. A child who spins wheel needs a different remedy from a child who eats one food. A child who eats one food needs a different remedy from the child who does not have contact. Although all of these have no eye contact, no interaction, and no spontaneous speech. No spontaneous interaction, no spontaneous speech. What you need to understand as a parent is that it is possible to come from no eye contact, no spontaneous interaction, no spontaneous speech. Restore in the middle, restore conceptual ability through very specific remedies that treat autism, not what we think autism is caused by. Finding out what autism is caused by will be great. But your kid is on the spectrum now. And marginal improvement with supplements because of what we think causes autism is not good enough. And so let's treat autism to find ourselves on the other side of the spectrum, if you will, which is full eye contact, spontaneous interaction, that is, being able to share a game, being able to share a book, being able to share an activity, and full spontaneous speech, which is not about one subject, but any subject around the kitchen table. Fair enough? I hope it is, because this is what I guarantee. So you can find me at homeopathicservices.com. Okay, the information is around there. I do check now my Facebook messages. I never did before. Sometimes I was 2 or 3 weeks late. Uh, so, especially from this talk today, I will be checking. So you can find me at homeopathicservices.com. The phone number, better not use it because it's not efficient enough, frankly. But the email is homeoserve gmail at gmail.com, homeoserve at gmail.com. And listen, let's get your kid diagnosed off the spectrum. I guarantee it. Thank you very much for listening. Be well, and I hope to see you soon.